and again, a dear friend of mine, Senator Lauren, di ba? She found that out real fast when she was talking about the environment. Environment, let's be sustainable. Kalikasan, let's save that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's a fantastic thing. But it did not resonate with the voters. She learned her lesson and then she went back to livelihood, medium, small enterprises, etc., women's rights.
You can
So,
smuggle your advocacies. I think there's nothing wrong, but you have to have meron kang hook, di ba? Na relatable.
interesting choice of words.
Yeah.
Very nuanced talaga si Prof. Richard. Smuggle your message. Yeah, that's mine now, brother. I'm using that one now.
No, I always believe in smuggling.
Yeah, steal
Not
that now,
kind,
brother.
but communicative smuggling. Gawain ko na para I'll talk this and that, and then I'll put something there. Oh wow, that's interesting. So yeah, I mean that's how we get away with doing good things in a problematic situation.
That's actually our definition of public relations in my company. PR is getting other people to talk about you. Good PR is getting people to talk about you in a sneaky way. In a sneaky way.
So
Yeah.
this smuggling is a very magaling na tayo sa smuggling business. Alan, now let's go to the more contemporary issues, and I also want to get your advice. Again, obviously you're still gonna have your business on the side for more specifics, but just the big picture. Una, okay. So do we have really a showbiz culture? How bad is it? I mean, because the Kaloy thing, I know you discussed already sa kabilang channel with my friend Christian on this, but I really want to get your 2 cents also on this. To what degree should we navigate around this showbiz culture in the Philippines without losing sight of core advocacies or policy-oriented issue? Obviously, I understand you cannot be wonky and all. It's not going to work in the Philippines. I know it. I work in media and all. I'm a wonk too. So I always realize you have to smuggle things in one way or another. But
Right.
what is the showbiz culture and how to navigate around it and probably push the boundaries?
You know what? I'm going to just dovetail back to your original point. And wow, this is the word du jour tonight, smuggling the message. Siguro the best example I can use is you yourself, no? So yung mga tagapagkinig mo, makikita nila, uy, sino to? Puging. Uy, kita yung chest hairs, nakabukas ng konti yung butones ng polo, di ba?
This was the Argentina vibe songs, my friend. You know, hindi, may aircon ngayon.
Macho. So makikinig sila. And then that might have been the initial hook. But then listening to you after 10, 15 minutes, they realize, holy cow, this guy's, sorry to use the term, no? This guy's not just a pretty face pala. Mautak pala to. Ang dami ko natututunan dito. So if our showbiz culture should be, can be pivoted towards that, wherein you initially capture them through the glitz and the glamour and then put some substance under it. Holy cow, what a wonderful world we will live in.
So medyo thirst trap and then something better than thirst trap.
Alam mo, ang galing mo mag-summarize.
I'm gonna get into trouble, my friend. I think I was supposed to be a PR guy. We have to work more in the future. No. I always
trap.
Yeah,
perfect.
You need thirst trap also in discussions and politics and all. Kami kasi we had to explain on-clause and international law in a I don't know, whatever way. So I realized there you should make it sexy for the lack of better.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, sexy message.
Yeah, smuggling it's part of that. So let's talk about this. As you said, nevertheless, hindi naman invincible ang mga populists and all of that. And we see this with Sara Duterte. Now, just to be clear, I never underestimated the Dutertes. I think they really touched they have their hands on the pulse of the Filipino people. There's something about them that really resonates. But nevertheless, especially Sara, I think Sara doesn't have her father's dexterity, wit, yung spontaneity that her father had. And by the way, we saw only the older version of Digong. When I was in Davao, I talked to some good friends who are very critical of Digong, but said, alam mo, gusto ko siya ng bata siya, kahit inis na inis ako sa kanya. Magaling eh. Mautak, ang dami niya. So I met many people who met him in his earlier years, you know, when he was 40s, 50s, and they were very impressed with this guy. He was a natural politician. I even heard ang idol niya was Ninoy Aquino. Who wants this extra? Yeah, look at Ninoy, right? One day he could meet the communist leader, the next day he's talking to the U.S. ambassador. That range, right? Remember,
never had any inflections when he talks. My God, can talk about any subject matter under the sun.
Exactly. So idol niya talaga si Ninoy, interestingly, not si Marcos Sr., no? But Sara just doesn't have it, and I don't know what's going on. so she lacks what her father has in terms of the dexterity and all of that. And let me be absolutely clear, this is not a sexist comment. This has nothing to do with that. We're just talking about her communicative skills among others. But she also keeps on making PR mistakes and all of that. So do you think it's complacency? What's going on? I mean, how do we explain 19 points drop? It's huge. It's huge. Most likely this has something to do with also yung flop niya. This whole, I don't know, was it a Swiftie concert? Was it just going out of the country? I mean, like, what was she thinking that she could get out of country and not do rebook and people just be okay with that? I mean, what's going on?
Okay. First to be fair to VP Sara, I mean if you're comparing any politician in recent memory, probably of all time, to PRRD, you're absolutely right. That will be like singing after Streisand or singing after Sinatra, di ba? Kawawa ka pag ang basis of comparison mo, ang barometer mo si PRRD. He's a once in a generation politician. Of course, an example very close to my heart and my father's heart is Erap. We thought that Erap was it. Akala namin si Erap na yung pinaka bulletproof, pinaka
Teflon.
our
Oh.
Teflon, nothing will stick. Boy, did we never thought we'd see a PRRD, no, Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Now on to the daughter. Number one, the transference is well, quantitatively we attribute about a 9 to 12 point decline when it comes to approval transference automatically because you're not the person. So sa anak,
You're just a replication.
you're a replication. So that's inherent, built in yun. Secondly, the problem with, and again, wow, we really have to make these disclaimers now. I will use your same disclaimer. This is not by any way, shape, or form a commentary on her gender because of her gender. Nothing to do with that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just that the father, when he makes his witticisms, when he makes his off-the-cuff remarks, it's charming. It's viewed as charming. Now, when the daughter does it, it's viewed as impertinent. It's viewed as petulant, bratty, even. In fact, there's data that will support this. Well, obviously, in my discipline, we have quantitative data that will show in Filipino, the response was parang bata. Parang batang nagmamaktol was the insight. So petulant in the thing.
Nagrarant lang siya, parang ganun.
Parang pikon na bata, parang unlike the dad, 'di ba? Pag may inupakan yung dad, galing. 'Di ba? Galing talaga ni PRRD, master strategist. Ito pag yung anak nagrant, ay, parang bata, bratty, so bratty. She didn't get what she wants and she's bratty. Now, having said that, what is the decline? You also have to attribute that to her alleged, supposed, presumed political opponents who actually found a hot button issue that they latched on and absolutely pressured her into a wall. This is China. Nakahanap sila ng ano di ba?
But you said, don't talk about sovereignty and all of that. So why is this issue resonant?
Kasi nakabit nila sa Pogo, nakabit nila sa nagkaroon, di ba?
Ang tawag ko dyan, nesting. Nesting.
Nesting,
Yung
correct.
nest. See, I mean, I'm a PR man.
Nakagawa sila ng nest, nilagyan nila ng mga golden eggs, 'di ba? Sinama nila yung mga pogo and again, Vice President Inday because of her ideology, her whatever, for whatever reason, I can only guess, I can only venture a guess, never definitively said anything. So naging anti-Pilipinas siya. Naging ganon. And then, of course, inupakan nila siya dun sa confidential fund issue. She was never able to explain. And finally, the biggest reason for the for the drop is whether it's 19 or 17, some survey firms will say it's 17, is, well, because she lost her golden goose. The golden goose that laid the golden egg was the DepEd. Yun yung channel niya para to reach
Yun yung
people.
platform niya. Yeah, exactly.
Yung platform niya. Dini-platform niya yung sarili niya. So, it's a perfect storm. A confluence of it's a cornucopia of events.
Yeah,
Yan.
it is. It is really, perfect storm talaga sa kanila yan. Yeah. Concatenation, to be a little bit academic. No, I mean the term. No, I mean the thing is, yung tatay niya kasi sobrang galing niya in terms of. I mean, I noticed the skill of this guy. Like in Malacanang, once I saw him, pag bored yung audience, dun siya nagmumura. And ang suspicion namin ni Leloy Claudio, we developed this theory separately was ginaya niya si General Luna. Na they somehow studied. Kasi kung pinanood mo yung mga mas batang pictures ni Digong from back in the day, nagmumura siya para in Bisaya or other terms. Hindi yung certain mura ni ginamit ni General Luna. So I felt this guy knows when to pause, parang stand-up comedian, when to throw the bomb. And he was already in his advanced age. I imagine if he were younger, he would be twice more dynamic. So you see, I recognize that talent in him. The other thing also with Digong is he could get away with his China stuff to a certain degree because minumura niya yung US leaders. Oh, macho siya with Putin. Do you know what I'm saying? So it was harder to
Yes.
pin him down as duwag. So, duwag nga, US na nga na pinakamalakas na bansa, minumura lang niya. Trump
The
na nga,
big bad.
Putin. Exact. You see, look at it. This big man, this big blonde man, Trump, Putin, all of them hugging him, respecting him. So I think he could get away with the China one in a kind of a blah 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 na lang niya. No, no, no. This is about peace and avoidance of war.
Remember, yung
Sarah doesn't
basura
have that.
natin.
Yeah, exactly. Sarah doesn't
Babalik
have
mo sa
that. She's just a.
Canada.
So yun ang napansin ko, wala siyang ganun eh. Wala siyang lusot eh. Wala siyang exit ramp. And Digong had that exit ramp eh. So kaya delikado talaga siya if she were just gonna do her tatay way of not criticizing China. When in fact, the situation even got worse, I would say, in recent years in terms of China's harassment. So again, we're just trying to explain to folks why, yes, she's also a Duterte. Yes, she has the solid South base and all of that. But her vulnerability, yung pagka-Teflon niya, hindi the same level. Diba? I
Not
wanted to,
nearly.
I wanted to drop some names of brands. I won't go there. Baka mapahamak na naman ako, diba? You never know what you're gonna endorse, no? But kidding aside, now, what is Sarah getting wrong so far from your understanding? And then, well, let's be fair. What should she work on? Because we want to be fair. We're not here to bash one side and help the other side per se. No, what do you think she should really work on? Kasi
Okay.
medyo delikado na siya ngayon eh, let's be honest. Medyo alanganin siya. Wala na siyang platform. She's positioning as an opposition in very, very difficult condition. Her father is potentially going to face ICC. I mean, so much is going on.
Okay, my problem now for me, and I'm happy to speak about this. This is something I can talk about as a so-called core competence. The problem kasi with VP Inday right now is she's a tweener. In-betweener siya, 'di ba? In sports and in ano, you're fallen into that limbo of being a tweener. Are you Cuela? Are you Brusco? Are you shoot from the hip like your father? Or are you intellectual? Are you statesman-like? If you read her statements, ano siya eh, she's straddling eh. 'Di ba? She's going to make a commentary about the flood funds. She's going to make a commentary about the declining peace and order. Biglang somewhere in the statement, hihirit ng the leaders don't need cocaine and champagne.
Medyo sabog. I mean, medyo sabog. I think you didn't want to say it, but I think the technical term for that is sabog. Like
Sabog,
all over the
tweener.
place. She's all over the place.
Tweener, stick to one, di ba? Yung tinatawag nating TCA, Total Consistent Alignment. You knew what you were getting with PRRD. You knew. Warts and all, it was going to be like your drunk uncle rambling, but he was on brand. The problem with VP Inday is she doesn't know. Does she want to engage in intellectual discourse? Does she want to do it like the style of her father? Tweener eh. Yun yung problema. Sabog.
Ako, Alan, to be fair to Sarah, I think kasang situation is she was also surprised by how quickly she got marginalized under Marcos Jr. Kasi ang understanding with the Sarah people is you got 6 years to build your own brand and get out of your father's shadow. So, just chill and all of that. And honestly, I don't think she had the ace team. No offense. Maybe this was a team that was great for her when she was Davao mayor and all of that. But I think they were not really prepared for this. Na they will be squeezed from all sides, di ba? Yung mga kalaban nila na komunista, yung mga kalaban nila na liberal, pati mga OG, mga Marcoses are also on the like what sila na yan, di ba? So I think, I mean, there are grammatical errors. I mean, and I don't want to be like that. I mean, I'm active on social. I don't want to nitpick, pero parang it's not only sabog, it's like it just doesn't have the quality that you would expect from a national level official. No offense, and I don't mean this in a, I'm from probinsya too, so I'm not trying to sound in any way, and I'm not being defensive. I'm just saying she doesn't seem to have the right team, and she's not upgrading her team. I mean, pwede mo na pa, kasi may time pa naman siya eh. Last time I checked, she's still the vice president. If she survives the next year or so, who knows? She's still the front runner for 2028. Baka bumaliktad pa yung inip ng hangin eh. So she still perhaps has some time, and she has to make that adjustment, but she's not making it. No, mukhang stuck siya sa gear 1 lang eh.
Okay. Am I coming in? Is my
Yes,
audio
yes,
coming?
yes. That's the
Okay.
problem when it's conversation. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. The thing kasi with let the record show to all our viewers, and the record will show that Alan Herman thought it, Richard Hidarian said it. So I thought it, my friend, but you said it. You said
May
it.
mind blend na nangyari.
You articulated it perfectly. There are levels to this game. There are levels to this game. You cannot take your, sorry to say, you cannot take your barangay basketball team and have them play in the big leagues. Iba to, my God. Yung confidential funds issue lang, let's examine that. No? When that was first hatched in Congress, when it was first brought to fore, talk about walking into a trap. I mean, honestly, saan ba nanggaling yung funds? Sa Office of the President. Di ba? Tinanggap nila yon. So, come on. That was, I mean, I don't want to make commentary, but perhaps a more seasoned team would have recognized that, ma'am, delikado tayo dito. Huwag natin tatanggapin yan. During the hearings, wow, presidential son himself, Senior Deputy Speaker and Floor Leader Sandro Marcos was the one who said, no more questions about these confidential funds, thus drawing attention. Tapos pinatayan ng mic yung mga mga kaliwa, which is never done in Congress, di ba? Pinatayan ng mic. So again, it was a perfect storm. They walked into that trap. And frankly, you're right. I don't think that she's surrounded by that. And no offense, because I know
Yeah,
some of
no
these.
offense.
I know
JC team,
some
I
of
do
the team.
JV team ba yung tawag dyan? JV team. I won't call barangay. Barangay. JV team ba tawag dyan? Yung medyo bench team.
Ano eh,
No
side B,
offense.
side B.
Yeah. No offense, no offense. I mean, yeah, I mean, again, I'm just trying to understand this from Sarah's perspective. Where I give Sarah credit, no, is how she held it together from January nung minura-mura nung tatay niya si Presidente BBM until nung last month na nag-resign siya. That must have been 6 months of hell. Not to mention that month na pati First Lady lumabas at binanatan siya ng big time, di ba? So, I will give her credit for 6 months. She tried to, play both sides, di ba? Until wala na. Na-realize na boiling frog na lang siya. It's just a matter of time. They get all boiled if she stays, di ba? So I want to give her credit on that. I think hindi siya nagkalat kasi what was key to me is what will be her response after her father attacked BBM, right? Parang she tried to keep both sides, like, I respect my family, but I'm also loyal to the cabinet. Something like she didn't articulate it as well, but I think the sensibility was Seneca. So I want to give credit actually to her team. I think they handled it to the best of, it was the best possible thing they could do. But yun nga, hindi nila na-sustain, and to sustain that and level, kasi ang basa ko dito, she wants to present herself as a victim na biniktima sila. Kasi ito yung rhetoric narrative nila, if you listen to their vloggers and all, if you bother, my goodness. But that's their narrative na silang, wow,
Paborito mo. Paborito mo, Richard.
mukhang mababa na naman itong mga to. Pero you know what I'm saying?
Yan yung mga araw-araw, inahamo ka sa debate.
Ito mga kaibigan natin, tulog na ako, huwag na patulan to. So, these are interesting moments we're living in. So I just wanted to be fair to Sarah. And I think she did pretty decently from January to at least April, May. And then I think at some point they couldn't really. But I was just shocked on dun sa time ng flooding. Bakit ganon? Sobrang sabla yung response sila. I mean, pwede naman sila mag-rebook lang. I mean, they could have come up with a better excuse, di ba? Kaya nga may
Correct.
conspiracy theory na baka dahil sa ISIS, hindi na sila maka-abroad. Ito na yung huling El Bimbo nila sa Germany, di ba? Kasi, you know what I'm saying? I met Chancellor Scholz of Germany earlier this year, and he was adamant we have to go with ICC kasi, it's close to his heart. He comes from Hamburg, etc. So, the joke kind of is like, baka naman akala ito na yung huling Europe trip nila if ever. You know what I'm saying? Because It's so unbelievable na hindi nila ma-rebook yan. Kasi the day before, I just arrived from Spain. Already the rain was bad. I was about to fly to Cebu the next day. I did it with 12-hour delay. So I was saying, oh, di-rebook mo na lang, di ba? You're the vice president, for heaven's sake, di ba? I mean,
Like, again, no, these are real weird miscalculations, and I'm not even going to go into her rant against the PNP leadership, di ba? Against Chief PNP
first
Martir.
name basis. Tawagin ka first name. Hoy, Alan! Bakit mo tinanggalan? Parang, hoy,
Dear
Alan!
Ray. Labo eh, di ba? Doon talaga napakamot ako. Parang who is doing the copy? And it's that tweener thing eh. I don't wanna attribute the word, but God bless you, VP Inday. But really the word is sometimes it's cringy. Now having said that, I think her heart is in her right place, is in the right place. And let's not forget, lamang pa rin to. Yes, there is a drop, but let's not forget in terms of reasons to believe, she got more votes than PBBM last election. Heck, she was leading the presidential survey all the way until she
Oh
decided to
yeah.
slide down to
And I
twice.
was there in their meeting de avance. So I went to two meeting de avance on that day. So I'll tell you what, that's how crazy I was. I wore violet. I thought it's in between pink and red, but bash ako sabi. I'll tell you what, Alan, nung lumabas si Sarah sa stage, yung level ng explosion of enthusiasm was,
Iba.
no offense to my kababayan, to my fellow Ilocano, nowhere close. Sarah was the star of the show. She was the princess of the show. I saw that with my own eyes. Even though this was supposed to be BBM's show, Sarah was the star. So,
Iba.
iba talaga si Sarah. So I'll never underestimate her. So I'm just shocked at how, they're shooting themselves in the foot, but never underestimate Sarah, obviously.
Hers to lose eh. Yun ang, the momentum
You're
is
right.
hers to lose eh. She's again eroding and shooting herself in the foot as it were, but I would absolutely support you in that estimation that you should never count the Duterte out, because
Is still
holy
a force
cow.
to reckon with, right? And but obviously the Tulfos are doing very well right now. I think they're the biggest winner of Philippine politics. And we've been talking about this for quite some time. In fact, para sa akin, belated pa yan eh. Nung sumikat si Digong, sabi ko, wait na, parang may kilala ko mga ganyan style, mga Tulfo, na minus the killing and EJKs and all of that. And Erwin, I've known him for quite some time. Rafi is my colleague in One News, is a good friend. So I know these people. Of course, I'm critical of them. I've criticized. I openly on the record like I'm the Tulfos, but they're juicing it. So Sarah has to be careful. But just one last point before we go to the last part of this. Alan, um, BBM. I'm quite surprised with what's happening with the communications of the BBM camp, in a sense that I think they won the elections with poetry. They did it well. I mean, in terms of all of the, but their prose is not as aggressive and I would have expected to be. Medyo nakukulangan ako, nakakapos ako. Is it because perhaps they thought Paul Soriano would be there in the poll? Like, wala silang, that kind of organizing principle. And BBM is not Duterte. He doesn't do fireside chat. He doesn't do the spontaneous show. Medyo stiff yung communications nila, which is good for foreign policy, statesmanship. Great. I know that for a fact. But for domestics, parang feeling ko hindi pa ganun ka-flexible. Is masyado bang stiff statesman-like? I mean, now we're complaining in the other direction. Ang BBM administration, are you surprised na parang wala silang masyadong bloggers and troll farms online? Parang bugbog sarado si BBM dun sa ibang bloggers, walang masyadong pushback eh.
Okay, first before I comment on that, I will tell you the weirdest story I've ever. Talagang tawa ako ng tawa nung araw na yon. A friend of mine sent me a Viber picture, or through a picture through Viber, tapos sabi nila, "Oy, si Richard Heydarian, ano na pala? Inappoint na sa cabinet." Tapos
Oh, shoot!
nakabilog yung mukha. Nung tinignan ko yung picture, sabi ko, "Gago, hindi si Heydarian yan, si Paul Soriano yan." Pinagkamalang ang Paul Soriano. But
How did that happen? Wait lang. May bigote naman ako dati ah. Like, well, I'll say
no.
it's a compliment to him rather than...
There you go. Okay, the thing, I think the overriding thing here, as far as I can tell, no, just from plain PR and communications lens, I think they're so conscious of people saying that he's trying to be like his dad.
So he's
Yun
locked in by that. So the
eh,
EDSA is locking him in. Tama yung sinabi ng friend ko eh. EDSA is working.
sasabihin,
Hit ng konti
sasabihin
si
ng mga
Mark.
tao, ano to eh, Shopee version to ni FM Senior eh. Ano to eh, Wish version ni FM Senior. Yeah, if he tries to be a strong man, if he tries to like have that bluster and fiery, although that last sauna was pretty good, man. I gotta tell
Very
you.
good song. I'm sorry. Thank you for saying that, Alan. It was a very good song. I was just in the airport
Sauna
from
show, yeah.
Barcelona flying out. Flawless. I mean, can you imagine Riza Hontiveros standing ovation with the Ferdinand Marcos Jr. there? I'm not trying to, besmirch your question. I'm just saying it's just insane. I saw that dun sa post ni Sherwin, who's a good friend, and Sherwin was like, wait, is that Riza? It was really good speech. Lalo on Pogo, on West Philippine Sea. Wow.
Sa
Great
start pa
guys.
lang.
Great pros. Great pros.
And then, I mean, just the way they set the predicate, he walked out alone. He had no military escort because I'm quietly confident. We are ruled by civilians, so wala akong military beside me. No handshaking, no fist pumping because this is all business. So great sauna, great sauna. Having said that, no, but I think
Pero yun
he's
nga bro.
limited.
Sona is again that statesman formal. What my sense is, it is kind of like, yung mga sidekicks, yung mga blogging, yung mga ganun. Dun sa more fluid space. So I think his speech was great in Australian Parliament. I think he gave a good speech practically in every foreign visit he had from World Economic Forum onwards. So wala akong issue dyan. Ako more is like the online wars eh. Kaya weirdly,
Yeah.
yung mga katulad namin na hindi naman pro-BBM na criticize sa kanya dahil galit kami kay Digong for some reason. Parang kami na lang we're doing the pushback eh. Na at least this guy is good on West Philippines. At least he's doing the right thing on foreign policy. So parang I just felt nakapusan ako. But you're right. The EDSA structured seems. So he's very careful. But you're right. I'd rather have a BBM who's careful than a BBM which is not careful and like too much.
Exactly. You know, you have to look at kasi 'di ba apat yan, man, message, machinery, and money. The man himself is, he's conflict averse. The favorite term of our friend Secretary and soon to be Senator Ronald Llamas, 'di ba? Conflict averse daw yan si BBM, 'di ba?
0.6%.
A 0.6 guy. So ano siya, 'di ba? Conflict averse, he's really not that guy, but the thing is, that's why he needed Sara Duterte during his campaign. So ngayon nawala yung veneer, yung halo ng Duterte charm sa Marcos, nasira yung unity team. So maybe that's what he's missing.
Last one, I want to say this kasi baka sabihin nila itong dalawa naman nag-a-apply na naman ng kliyente paparating ng elections. Let's talk about someone who's not running next year's elections but is being openly considered to maybe consider even the highest office, if not the second highest office. And this is the person that many people didn't see as having much chance in Philippine politics because we're more of a right-wing, center-right, conservative society. I'm talking about obviously Riza Hontiveros.
Right.
Some people would like, come on, there's no way that a kind of a progressive, leftist, social democratic person. But who knows? I mean, she's doing very well, right? I mean, all of these hearings are blockbuster after blockbuster after blockbuster, from Kiboloy to Alice Go and all. Is this the woman meeting the moment situation?
Absolutely. She's experiencing what we call an inflection jump. This is again the moment coming and the moment being seized. But having said that, 25, 28, baka sa 28, baka pwedeng vice. I'm not sure about,
but that's still high. That's still big.
no, yeah. So I'm not necessarily sure if Senator Risa, and I love Senator Risa. I'm a huge fan. But I'm not sure kung kaya niyang i-sustain yung mga inflection jumps ito until 28 to gun for the number for 01, maybe 02.
Just last point on this. If you are progressive or liberal, or maybe a combination of two, let's just call them left liberal, ano yung mga kailangan mong gawin to succeed in this difficult era? Because as we just mentioned, the Tulfos are the biggest winner of the fight between Marcoses and Dutertes. So it's not like they're totally different brand. It's we just like went from, I don't know, Hermes and Louis Vuitton to Chanel. I'm being nice, obviously. But how can, I don't know, an Italian brand come from nowhere? Let's just
You wanted to say Nor
Man, how
seasoning.
can I come in?
You wanted to say Nor seasoning to Maggi Sabor. That's what you wanted to say. But
You said it better than me. I put myself in trouble.
Alam mo, lahat ng popcorn sa SNR tsaka sa Landers naubos na, no? Because the Tulfos have bought all the popcorn. Because they're just sitting down and boy, are they enjoying this fight. It's a Mexican standoff. My enemies are shooting themselves in the face. When these two are dead, I'm gonna rise. But, okay, going back to your question, how does ano yung term mo? Left of
Left
center?
liberal, let's say something like Lenya or Risa or something along those lines, and how can they navigate and carve space for them? I mean, I can already think of Grace Po, no, who's not necessarily populist, although she has the Poe effect. But I think she's much more liberal leaning in terms of her stance. So she's number one in some of the Pulse Asia survey, I'm saying. But let's say if not Grace, but someone else who wants to kind of more Lenny, Risa-ish, but how did I mean? It's tough. The Tulfos are coming up. Those two are still in the game. I mean,
Okay, the first step is wag parating kontra. Don't make your platform always kontra. Kasi that's the stereotype. That's a knock on them. Kahit anong gawin ng administrasyon, kontra, 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 kontra. So wag parating kontra. Applaud the wins sometimes. And criticize what needs to be criticized, but applaud the wins also sometimes. And sadly, of course, I'm a PR guy. This is so painful for me to say. Sometimes ride on the wins. Sumakay ka rin minsan. Di ba? May konting epal eh. And I know that this is something that the left liberals, as you term them, hate with a passion, that epal politics. But you gotta play the game, brother. That's the music. That's the music of our electorate. You gotta play the game. You gotta
so
dance.
super last point. So what is a ethical PR? If I can put it that way, like I like PR. It's something that I kind of do in my own little way. But and I think both of us, our heart is in the place of we want a better democracy, a better country, aside from our own personal careers. And I think, whatever happens, thank God, we'll do something about it. But the point is, how can we do ethical PR in this era? And I want to end where I started. Margaret Thatcher loved Evita. And apparently what she said after watching first Evita, she said to her, and lumabas yung letter na yan later on, dun sa kanyang communication secretary, the guy behind yung, I think, first version of The Office, yung English. But anyway, these are like communications gurus, right? And she said something like, my goodness, look at Evita. She was able to achieve all of these things, these Perons, these Argentinians, without any real ideology. Imagine what can you do if you have a real ideology and have their communication skills, because obviously she was dismissive of Argentina, but she believed that she had this kind of that Thatcherite ideology of privatization and all of that. So napaisip din ako doon. It's like, yeah, so you're right. You have to write them, but how do you do it? Although I'm the opposite side of Margaret Thatcher ideologically, but I think she had a point. How do you use the Evita charisma and populism and all of these things you're talking about, but channel it in the right direction?
Well, again, no, ethically, what you should do is you should, within the bounds of your office and within the bounds of what is legally allowable, sadly, kailangan kang mamigay eh. Kailangan ka talagang mamigay ng assistance, mamigay ng mga care packs. It has to be done, my friend, sadly. So, you know what it is? It's yung sinabi ni Margaret Thatcher, imagine if you had actual substance and brought it to communication. So nag-full circle tayo
You
dun
bring
sa
substance and style together. Oh, mama.
But this is what I'm going to now term. And by the way, I'm going to copyright this term first thing Monday. This is now what we are going to call the Haydarian thirst trap.
Mapahamak talaga tayo dyan. But since it's Olympics period, I mean, ang dami mga thirst trap nangyari. Might as well.
Oh, yan. Diba? You reel them in. You reel them in with the optics, and then you deliver the knockout punch. Diba? You dazzle them with your charm, and then you knock them out with the brilliance. So yun.
That's absolutely good point. So medyo umepal here and there, but the epal with the heart. Epal with the heart. Thank you so much, Alan. I was thinking about doing two things. I said, why not let's just focus on one issue and go deep, or we discuss many issues and hopefully in the future we'll come back. And eventually I said it on the second one. I felt, there's so much more here. Maybe the rest should be off the record. I'm sure there are things you'd rather discuss off the record. But again, I just want to remind for our audience here on Twitter, which is quite a diverse audience, Hindi ko naman na-on yung TikTok, nakalimutan ko na. Baka yung China, they might learn some tricks from us. Na libre. On YouTube and Facebook. Alan Herman, obviously the guru of PR, continuing the great legacy of his father. And good job for honoring the legacy of your dad. And thank you also for making sure na you're hindi ka lang yung our brand is crisis type of PR guy. You're doing it
Ambulance chasing.
for the good cause. Yeah, exactly. And definitely this was a pleasure. Really enjoyed our discussion, our conversation. And then yeah, definitely looking forward to more discussions off the record, on the record, and more. Thank you so much, Alan. Is there something? How can people follow your thoughts and magkano bang rates mo? Yung mga ganun nagtatanong mga tao. Magkano bang rates mo? Mayroon akong tsahin na inaaway ko doon sa girlfriend ko.
Brother, first of all, the pleasure and the privilege is mine, no? Meron tayong kasabihan. If you enter the room and you're the smartest guy in the room, you've entered the wrong room. So that's why when I'm in the room with Richard Darian, I'm always in the right room. So really, really a wonderful chat. Always a pleasure to chew the fat with you, my brother. The name of my company is Agents International. Here's the weird thing about us. And by way of having a last point, we actually do not advertise. We don't have a website. We have no social media presence because we believe in client at center stage. Medyo Italiano kami, Italiano. If you've reached us, if you've found us, if you've come to our door, that means somebody who knew someone led you to us. So all the roads will lead to me and you.
I mean, this was more like Rolex or something like oh, we don't do advertisement because the people who watch TV are not our clientele. Yung mga ang grabing snob. Although nakita ko sa Formula 1, speaking of Grand Prix, uy,
So
okay,
yun yun.
that's mo.
Hindi kami alamat. Hindi kami talaga nag-advertise. Wala kaming website. A lot of people wonder kasi number one, we believe in client at center
Yeah,
stage.
exactly.
You know that if people are aware that there's a PR agency behind it, then that's not good PR. Because you gotta be sneaky, man. You gotta smuggle it.
That's it. Thirst trap for the win. Maraming salamat, Alan. Mabuhay ka, and looking forward to catching up in person and maybe also off the record as well as on the record.
Richard, it was a pleasure. I'll see you soon. And thank you to all of our listeners. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas. Mabuhay ang atletang Pilipinas. Mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you, amigo. Grazie mille.
Thank you, bro.